Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion on this Monday morning, and a wild week last week once again, especially when you consider Thanksgiving week and the half day and all of the different volumes that we were talking about last week. Absolutely incredible. The volumes just continue to be something that's astounding each and every week. And this whole pandemic has been staggering to watch just how much activity we've been seeing in the derivatives market specifically. So we'll get into that in just one second in terms of that half day on Friday. But we started off the day, things were going okay. The markets were going up to the upside a little bit. The Dow was actually up about 50 points, about 60 points. By the end of the day, we actually finished up on the day, but not very much, only about 37 points to the upside. Meanwhile, it was the NASDAQ that was really skyrocketing to the upside. That was moving up about 111 points on Friday. So the reality is, what everybody is talking about, that everything is rotating, is it really? The reality is it really rotating? I think people are continuing to go to quality. Forget about growth versus value. Folks are going for quality. And when they go in for quality, that's when we're seeing the markets that are moving to the upside. And we see a lot of these quality names moving along to the way to the upside as well. Moderna, Zoom, some of those names are names that have been very powerful names. Obviously, Zoom, of course, because of the pandemic and everybody, all the stay at home and the growth that they are seeing there is absolutely incredible. We've talked about vaccines for a while now. Seems like each and every Monday we were getting such incredible moves because of the vaccine news. It started off much stronger. It kind of got muted as we've gotten more and more, but that's something that's definitely stood out. And Moderna seems to be the name that really does stand out, I think, above the rest so far. When you look at AstraZeneca and Pfizer, obviously some moves, but Moderna on Friday had another really powerful move to the upside. So tech did take a bit of a pause, but biotech did not. As a matter of fact, you take a look, and you won't hear enough discussed about this, but the reality is, when you look at Friday's markets and the half day and everything else, take a look at what was going on with biotech. New highs, all-time highs, screaming to the upside, and does not get talked about enough. We talk about technology, we talk about the semiconductors, but biotech, which is an area that I've been following for a very long period of time, that's an area that just continues to explode to the upside. And we've been watching that steady move, just like we've seen out of the semiconductors as well to the upside. Those get a lot of the conversation, but not so much when it comes to biotech. So energy, industrials, we've been talking about this for a while, and that big move that we've had this month coming from certain areas, financials throw in that as well. But the real move has been in, quite honestly, volatility. We've been watching volatility on this very, very sharp decline for a while now, where we actually got, not too many weeks ago now, we actually closed above 40, and here we are now getting very, very close to 20, and possibly at some point in time, very close maybe, we might see the volatility index actually get back underneath that 20 level. Even if we do expect to see volatility in these markets, and I think we probably be there for all that long, but that's something that we will see as it comes into the future. By the way, a half day, and the volumes were 25.3 million contracts on a half day. That's an enormous day on any other day, but on a half day, that just really says a lot about what's been going on and how active the derivatives markets have been. Palantir is one of those names that it's only been a publicly traded stock for a while now, and to take a look, 1.5 million contracts in a half day. Tesla, just underneath that at 1.45 million contracts on the half day. And then Apple, just under 1 million contracts. Now, on a normal day, Apple's going to trade closer towards 1.5 million, 2 million contracts in a day. So actually, on a half day, pretty nice performance out of Apple as well. So getting on to today. The unusual options that we have been seeing just continue to hit. We've been talking about the energy space, and we've been watching how the energy space has been absolutely exploding to the upside, along with financials, along with some of the industrials and the semiconductors. And we just brought up the biotech as well. And we continue to see activity come into the energy space each and every day. As we continue to monitor this, we are seeing a continued theme where we are seeing 5, 6, 7 different unusual option activities coming in the energy patch. It seems like on a daily basis, and it's something that needs to be discussed and needs to be followed, because these moves that we are seeing to the upside have been pretty extraordinary out of many of these names over the last couple of weeks. So this morning, as we come in, we are looking at the markets. They're down about 125 points, not that big of a deal, down a little bit on the Dow, but we were still positive on the NASDAQ. started to shift as we get into the first hour of trade today. Started to see a pretty decent slide down about 255 points early on, first half hour or so. And that's where we were just a few minutes ago when I was last checking. But we were also seeing the NASDAQ starting to pull back a little bit as well, getting into negative territory. So nothing to be overly concerned about right now. There seems to be a lot of activity in terms of the vaccine names. Obviously, those names continue to grow, and that's getting a lot of excitement. And that's something that obviously some of the moves to the positive of late have come off of the back of some of this vaccine news. Also, add on to that, people seem to be pretty pleased with what Joe Biden so far has been talking about filling some of these cabinet seats. And so far, at least what we are seeing in the markets has been a pretty nice acceptance of some of the names that are being not only just floated out there, but being putting into place as Mr. Biden, President Biden, is going to start selecting some of this as we get a little bit further along. So the industrials, the materials, those are the names that are starting to pull a little bit back on a day like today where we finally have a little bit of a pullback. Obviously, energy as well. You take a look over at Chevron. Energy space that we've been talking about has been so strong. It's not getting hit that hard today, but certainly the combination of all of this is why we are seeing the markets down about 250 points on the Dow so far. So got to give you a little bit of workhorse, because on the unusual option activity, there are many choices early on. As a matter of fact, I've been very, very active already in some of the unusual option activity that we have seen so far. Probably about 12, 14 names so far hitting in just the first hour. So it gives you a little idea how much activity we've got. And I'll be on the halftime report today talking about some of that unusual option activity. But workhorse stands out early on. And the reason that one stands out is we've been talking about this EV space for a while now and how much energy we have seen going into the EV space. Now, we've talked about Lee, we've talked about NIO, we've talked about Tesla, we've talked about a variety of these various names. And now workhorse seems to be a name that wants to hit one more time. The stock trading right around 7,000 contracts for this Friday's expiring December 4th, the 28 calls. So just $1 out of the money, these calls going for about $1.50. That's really pretty interesting to see, because this space has been on fire, continues to grow, and continues to hit each and every day. And it just seems like there's a different name. Nikola is another one of those names that continue to hit day in and day out. So I'm going to give a couple quick questions. But I honestly have an unbelievable morning. I got some radio stuff I got to do. I still got to do some unusual myself. And of course, we've got the halftime report and cash flow portfolio to follow after the halftime report as well. So busy morning in front of us. Morning, Pete. The banks drop. Yes. As a matter of fact, you saw probably the Morgan Stanley note out with a couple of double downgrades for some of those names. Bank of America, JP Morgan on that list. Some upgrades as well. Bank of America, or excuse me, US Bank, as well as Capital One Financial with some upgrades. So a little bit of back and forth. I will say this, when it comes to a lot of the various names in the banking industry, love Morgan Stanley, think they're a great company, but I'm not so sure that they have been the best when it comes to giving some of the forecast for the financials. I think there are other names out there that I look to. Matter of fact, Mike Mayo has been very, very solid for a long time in the financial world in terms of his calls in the financials. So that's a name that I look for a little bit more frequently than I would with Morgan Stanley. Not a rip on Morgan Stanley, just saying in terms of who's been right, and that's who we like to follow. It's why everybody, you've heard me talk about Katie Huberty forever. There are a variety of different areas in the marketplace where I'm looking for the axe, and the axe is the person, man or woman, who has been the best in that category for a while. And after a period of time, that's who you want to be following. And so though I say that because I'm not so sure Morgan Stanley has been at that top level for a while now. Hey, Pete, the pullback's been huge compared to the last few days. Do you like what you continue to see, or will we rebound? It makes some sense that you see a little bit of a pullback, right? Because we've seen this incredible run to the upside. Last week, another big week. As a matter of fact, we went across 30,000 on the Dow on a couple of different occasions. So pauses, sure. Pullbacks, yeah, there's possibility for pullbacks. There's no doubt about that. We still have so much going on. And despite the vaccine news, there's still a lot of concerns about the level of the cases. So I think that we are in for still some more volatility in the marketplace. So we'll see how that continues to play out. So what is your thinking on Marvell here as these levels before earnings later this week? I continue to like that name. You've probably watched me on the 5 o'clock show for CNBC, where I actually pitched this stock just a few weeks back. It's been a name that I've been long on a couple of different occasions. I'm back long again. I like this name. I think it continues to move to the upside. And I think they've made some great acquisitions. That's what they have done over time. They make acquisitions to create a much different and much more diversified semiconductor company. They've done a great job with that, and they just did another acquisition as well. So I think the combination of what they've been doing has been great. Will that be reflecting the earnings? I kind of think it's already part of what we are seeing for Marvell. So they will probably not only report on the earnings, but also give reports on a lot more information on the acquisition that they made as well. So that's something I think to keep an eye on. Which airlines do you prefer? Well, that's a really interesting question, because I think there are certain airlines that have been run much better than others over time. But that doesn't mean that they're always going to be the ones that are going to have the most explosive move to the upside. So still like Hawaiian Air. I still think that's one of the premier names. Has it done great? No, but none of the airlines, especially recently, have done all that well. Delta Airlines, another real quality name in my opinion. Names that actually have a lot more fuel potential for the upside. A name like United Airlines, not that I think theirs run as well, quite frankly, but I think that there are reasons why a United could be a very, maybe move a little bit with more velocity than some of the other names. So hopefully that gives a better answer to you. Still in the calls for Rocket. Thoughts on staying in? I am no longer in the calls for Rocket at this point in time. I was in that option. I had a really crazy week last week. As a matter of fact, when I show you, this was some of the moves last week, just to give you a little bit of an idea of how crazy things were. So going back to Monday, I was buying First Solar, Mondelez. I sold some Snap. I trimmed some Kohl's. Within a day or two, I was selling out of First Solar. I was selling out of XLF. I was selling out of Penn. I was adding into Ford, but and I added into Sabre. I did some trimming as well, and then I sold out of my Kohl's. Just to give you a little idea, it was a really busy week. Even though it was a shortened week, it was a phenomenal week. So really excited about that. Thanks for all the questions. I got to run. I'll see you guys at noon today, Eastern time on the Halftime Report. Look forward to seeing you then. Take care.